If you've spent a lifetime working and you're counting on Social Security to help support you in retirement, this is one subject you really don't want to tune out. Every year, millions of older Americans see unsettling headlines about Social Security running out, being in danger, or facing new government warnings. And it's easy to wonder what any of that actually means for you in practical terms. Your monthly deposit, your bills, your day-to-day stability. In this video, we're going to walk through the situation in straightforward language. No technical jargon, no doomsday talk, just a clear explanation of what's happening with Social Security right now, why government reports and experts keep flagging concerns, and what kinds of changes are being discussed that could affect benefits in the future. Just as importantly, we'll look at what that means for people already receiving benefits, whether you should be worried about your current payments, and what kinds of policy ideas are on the table for the years ahead. This is especially relevant for seniors, retirees, and anyone planning their long-term finances, because having an accurate picture today can help you feel more steady and prepared tomorrow. And it's worth staying with this all the way through, because toward the end, we'll talk about what kinds of Social Security updates are actually worth watching for, so you're not swayed by every scary headline. If you find this kind of clear explanation useful and you'd like more updates like it, giving the video a like helps us continue bringing you information you can rely on. Let's start by slowing things down and separating feelings from facts. When you hear Social Security is at risk, it can sound like something sudden and dramatic is about to happen, checks stopping overnight or the entire program collapsing without warning, but that is not how this system operates. Social Security is a very large federal program that's been in place for many decades, and it's built on multiple overlapping funding sources and adjustment mechanisms. So when trustees' reports or government documents sound an alarm, they are almost always talking about long-term financial pressures, not a shut-off switch being thrown in the near term. The root of the concern lies in how Social Security is funded. During your working years, you and your employer pay payroll taxes into the system. That money goes into dedicated trust funds, which are then used to pay benefits to current recipients. For a long time, there were more workers paying in than retirees drawing money out, so the trust funds built up surpluses. Over time, demographics have shifted. People tend to live longer, which means benefits are paid for more years, and the birth rate has fallen, so there are relatively fewer new workers entering the system compared with the number of retirees. This creates what actuaries call a long-term financing gap. When you see warnings about shortfalls or depletion, they refer to projections that if no legislative changes are ever made, the trust fund reserves would eventually be drawn down, and the program would then have to rely only on incoming payroll taxes. In that scenario, there would still be revenue coming in, and benefits would still be paid, but at a reduced percentage of currently scheduled levels. Before that picture makes you anxious about your existing benefit, especially if you're already retired, there's a key point to keep in mind. Historically, people who are already receiving Social Security checks have been the most protected group in any conversation about reforms. Lawmakers across the political spectrum understand that for many older adults, these payments are not a luxury. They cover rent or mortgage payments, groceries, utilities, and medications. That's why, when ideas are discussed, they usually focus on adjustments for future beneficiaries rather than sudden across-the-board cuts to current retirees. This is also why you often hear debates about things like full retirement age, payroll tax rates, or the maximum amount of wages subject to Social Security tax. Those are levers policymakers can use to strengthen the program for the long run, often by phasing in changes for younger workers, while minimizing disruption for people already dependent on the system. It's still very understandable that terms like shortfall, insolvency, or trust fund depletion sound scary. And sometimes headlines make projections sound like immediate crises, when in reality, they are estimates looking many years ahead. In most scenarios modeled by the program's trustees, even if trust fund balances were to hit zero at some point in the future, payroll taxes would continue to be collected and would still be able to cover the majority of scheduled benefits. Payments wouldn't vanish. They would continue, though possibly at a lower level, if no policy changes were made before that point. Again, That is a long-term, if nothing is done scenario, not a description of what is happening to current checks. It's also important to appreciate why Social Security matters so deeply beyond any charts or reports. It is one of the most far-reaching social insurance programs in U.S. history, providing a guaranteed base of income that, for many people, makes the difference between relative stability and serious hardship in older age. It helps people maintain some independence after decades of work, even if they don't have large pensions or investment portfolios. That's why discussions of its future tend to be emotional. It's not just an abstract policy question. It touches nearly every household either now or in the future. When a government report issues a warning about Social Security, what it usually means is that official analysts are reminding Congress that, unless laws are updated, the system will eventually face limits on what it can pay in full decades from now. These trustee reports come out regularly and are part of a routine process of long-range planning. They are not the same thing as an emergency alert that checks are about to stop. It may also help to realize that Social Security's projected challenges are not new. Similar concerns have been raised in past decades, in the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, and each time Congress ultimately made a set of adjustments, sometimes to taxes, sometimes to benefits formulas, sometimes gradually increasing eligibility ages. The common thread is that the program has been revised periodically to reflect economic and demographic changes rather than allowed to collapse. That history is one reason many experts urge people not to panic when they hear stark language. The system is designed to evolve. For those of you living on a fixed income, it's completely natural that even the idea of uncertainty around Social Security feels heavy. When you're balancing rising rent, food prices, and prescription costs, even a hypothetical future change can feel personal. Those concerns are real, and they deserve calm, transparent discussion. At the same time, it's important to separate speculation from what's actually in place today. At this moment, there is no law cutting current benefits and no official decision to stop payments. What exists are projections for decades ahead and debates about how to keep the system healthy, not announcements of immediate reductions for those already receiving checks. It's also worth remembering that Social Security tries to account for changes in living costs by providing an annual cost of living adjustment, COLA, based on specific inflation measures. These adjustments are not perfect and may not always match your personal expenses, but they are a built-in feature meant to help benefits retain purchasing power over time. So when someone asks whether Social Security is at risk, the honest answer is nuanced. The program is not on the verge of disappearing, but it does face long-term funding challenges that likely will require policy changes to address. It may help to think of Social Security like a major public road system or an older house. They don't suddenly vanish, but they do need maintenance and updates over time. In discussions of potential solutions, you may hear about ideas like raising or lifting the cap on taxable wages, modestly increasing the payroll tax rate, adjusting formulas used to calculate future benefits, or modifying the full retirement age for younger generations. These are big decisions that would require legislation, debate, and public input. They don't happen overnight and are usually structured to phase in slowly so people have time to plan. For today's retirees, the near-term takeaway is that monthly benefits are grounded in existing law, and changes that might be considered would almost always be designed to protect people who are already dependent on those payments. At the same time, staying aware and informed is wise. Not because you need to live in fear of sudden cuts, but because understanding how the system works helps you evaluate news more calmly, plan your household budget realistically, and ask good questions if new proposals emerge. Your Social Security check is one part of your broader financial picture, alongside any savings, pensions, part-time work, or family support. The clearer you are about that full picture, the more in control you tend to feel, even when news cycles are noisy. It's also important to realize that you're not alone in thinking about these things. Millions of other seniors see the same headlines and ask the same questions. That's why having measured, fact-based conversations about Social Security is so valuable. When you focus on verified information instead of emotionally charged sound bites, you give yourself room to breathe and make thoughtful decisions. As we bring this discussion to a close, the goal is not to say that Social Security has no issues, but to put those issues in perspective. Yes, the program faces long-term pressures from aging demographics and changing worker-to-retiree ratios. Yes, adjustments will likely be part of its future. But at the same time, it continues to send out payments every month to millions of people and has a long record of adapting rather than failing. The warnings you hear are part of an ongoing process of monitoring and maintaining that system, not a sign that it's about to disappear tomorrow. If you started this video feeling worried, I hope you're leaving with a clearer, calmer understanding of what's really going on. Your time and attention are valuable, and taking the step to look beyond headlines and understand the mechanics of Social Security already puts you ahead of most people who see a scary phrase and stop there. If you found this helpful, liking the video can help others in similar situations find clear explanations without unnecessary alarm, and staying connected for future updates can make it easier to navigate whatever adjustments may come, one step at a time. Most of all, remember that your focus doesn't need to be on fear, it can be on understanding. You've already begun that process by learning more today, and that knowledge is one of the strongest tools you have for protecting your financial peace of mind.